This video is a analysis of one of the topic tests. These topic tests are designed to help you evaluate your performance or your level of preparation for a given topic for which you've prepared. Once you give the test, you can look at this video and get a perspective on what questions could have been attempted and what was a good time to attempt these questions. If you like the test, there are more than 200 such topic tests available. The link for the app is in the description below. Feel free to download the app and go through these tests and understand where you are in terms of your level of preparation. This specific video is about a test on percentages. The test number is 2 as mentioned in the app. Overall, this test was easy to moderate level of difficulty. Around 6 to 7 questions should have been attempted net correct after making the negative mark or removing the negative marks. This net 7 questions should have been correct for a 95 plus percentile, and in terms of time should take about 18 to 21 minutes to attempt all the questions. May not be able to solve all of them, but definitely to go through all the questions, putting in time for each questions, around 21 minutes for all the questions. Looking at the questions, question number 1 says Meena scores 40% in an examination, and after a review, even though her score is increased by 50%, she fails by 35 marks. So suppose the total marks in the exam is 100x. That means Meena has initially scored 40% of 100x, that is 4x. In the review, her score is increased by 50%. 50% of 40x is half of 40x, which is 20x. So her new score now, after the review, is 40 plus 20, 60x after the increase. But she still fails by 35 marks. So the pass marks are 60x that Meena scored, and she's failing by 35, so 60x plus 35. If her post-review score is increased by 20%, this is her post-review score. If this is further increased by 20%, 20% of 60x will be 12x. So her post or newer score will be 72x. She will have 7 marks more than the passing marks. So we can say when we look at the new score 72x, this is passing marks plus 7. We know that the passing marks were 60x plus 35. Passing marks plus 7 is 72x. So from here we can get the value of x. We have an equation in x. The percentage score needed for passing the examination is. So from here we can write 12x is equal to 42 divided by 6, which means 2x is equal to 7. The pass marks are 6x plus 35. So if we multiply by 5, we will get 10x is equal to 35. So we can say the pass marks here are 6x, 60x, and the value of 35 is 10x. So the passing marks essentially is 70x. We have to find the passing percentage. Out of 100x, 70x is the passing marks. Hence, passing percentage is also 70. You don't need to find the exact value of x in all the scores. We just needed this in terms of x, which we got by getting the value of 35 as 10x. In terms of level of difficulty, I'd say a moderate level of difficulty question based on a percentage marks based question. About 2 odd minutes to solve the question. Depending on your attempt, may look at this question in the exam as well. But again, as I'd say, overall moderate level of difficulty. In a stockpile of products produced by 3 machines, M1, M2, M3, 40% and 30% were M1 and M2. Out of 100%, 40%, suppose 100 units were produced. Out of this, 40 is from M1, 30 is from M2, and therefore 40 plus 30, 70. Minus 100, 30 will be from M3. 3% of products of M1 are defective. So 3% of 40 are defective, which means 1.2. 1% of M2, 1% of 30 is defective, which means 0.3. While 95% of M3 are not defective, which means 5% are defective. 100 minus 95. So 5% of 30, which is 1.5. So the total number of defective items is 1.2 plus 0.3. 1.5 plus 1.5, which is 3. What is the percentage of defective in the stockpile? So out of 100, 3 are defective, hence 3% is defective. Again, just percentage calculation on the easiest question that you come across. Maybe a minute and a half to solve. If such a question does show up in the exam, definitely something that you should attempt. If the height of a cone is decreased by 20% and radius increased by 25, what is the percentage increase in total surface area of the cone? Now, the total surface area of a cone is curved surface area plus area of base, which is pi r L plus pi r square, which is pi r into L plus r. Now the height is increased by 20. Also, we know that L is equal to root of h square plus r square. The height is decreased by 20%. So if original L was original slant height was h square plus r square, the new height will be 20% less, so 0.8 h square. The new radius is increased by 25, so 1.25 r square. Now, clearly, from if we find out the new slant height, it will depend on the value of h and r. Depending on the value of h and r, values can be different. So, unless we know the ratio of h and r, we will not be able to find out the overall increase in L in the slant height. And since we do not know the increase in slant height, we will not be able to find out the increase in total surface area of the cone. The values will depend on the ratio of h and r, and therefore here the answer cannot be determined. Again, a conceptual question where you have to understand how percentage change will get transferred to the overall value. I'd say moderate level of difficulty, again, because of the concept, because there is no calculation per se, and therefore solving time should be 90 seconds. Once you understand what is happening, you get the answer. At the start of a party, a basket placed at the center of the room contained 1,000 fruit. Exactly 99% were apples. So 99% of 1,000 will be 99 upon 100 into 1,000, which is 990. So 990 fruits are apples, and the rest 10 are something else. So just let's call it fruit. By the end of the party, the percentage of apples in the basket fell to exactly 98%. If it is known that all the guests ate only apples, how many apples did they eat? Now, since only apples have been eaten, the number of fruit, non-apple fruits, will remain the same, that is 10. Also, here 98% are apples. So the other fruit has to be 2%. If the total number of fruit here is n, we can say 2% of n is equal to 10. 2% of n is equal to 10, which means 2 upon 100 into n is equal to 10. 50, n is equal to 500. So number of fruit here is 500. Out of which 10 are fruit and 490 will be apples. How many apples did they eat? From 990, 490, so 500 apples have been eaten. Because the number of fruit remained constant and the percentage doubled, that means the number would have halved. So from 1,000 fruits, we are left with only 500 fruits. Now, this is a question that you would have come across while preparing, and therefore I'm saying an easy question, not more than 90 seconds to solve. The idea here is this is the same as saying watermelon kept in the sun, dried, water goes out, or from a fish, a certain number, from a tank, certain number of fish are taken out. It is the same question. And since there is repetition in the question, so I'm saying easy, 90 seconds to solve. Shabnam is considering three alternatives to invest her surplus cash for a week. She wishes to guarantee maximum returns on the investment. She has three options, each of which can be utilized partially or fully in conjunction with the others. So basically, there has to be a guarantee on the return and it has to be maximum. Now, option A, invest in public sector bank, return is 0.1%. Option B, invest in mutual fund ABC, rise in stock market, returns 5%, fall in stock market leads to a loss of 3%. Investment in C or option C says rise in stock market leads to a loss of 2.5%, fall will entail a return of 2%. Suppose the amount of money invested into the three options is ABC respectively. Now, there are two cases. Either the stock market will rise or fall. When it rises, the return will be plus 0.1% on A, plus 5% on B, and minus 2.5% of C. This is when the stock market rises. When the stock market falls, the return will be 0.1% of A, minus 3% of B, plus 2% of C. Since the return has to be guaranteed, no matter what, whether the stock market rises or falls, the return has to be same. So we equate the two. And therefore we get 0.1A plus 5b minus 2.5c is equal to 0.1a minus 3b plus 2c. So this gives us 0.1a, 8b is equal to 4.5c. 8b multiplied by 2. b by c is equal to 4.5 by 8 multiplied by 2 is 9 by 16. And therefore, suppose 100 rupees are to be invested, we can invest for the 30. 9 plus 6 is 25, 25 for the 100. So 36 rupees in B and 64 rupees in A. What will be the return? If 100 rupees are invested with 36 in B and 64 in A, the return will be, we are investing nothing in A per se because that will not affect the decision. So the return will be 5% of 36 minus 2.5% of 64. This becomes 5 into 36 upon 100 minus 2.5 into 64 upon 100. This will be 180. 1.8 minus of 2, 5 into 2. 1.6, 1.6. 160, 132, 160, 128 and 160, 1.6. And therefore the return is 0.2. So on 100 rupees, we are assured a return of 0.2, hence that becomes the maximum assured return. Because why maximum? Because it is more than 0.1. Why guaranteed? Because in both cases we'll get this return. Hence option C. Again, this would be a moderate to difficult level of question. If we have attempted this question, maybe then 2.5 minutes to solve. Certainly not a question that you'll be able to do in the first attempt. In Sunshine Academy, there are 500 students. 60% of these are girls. 40% of whom play basketball. 500 students. 60% of 500 is 300 girls. Of this 40%, 40% of 300 is 120 play basketball. Therefore, 200 boys are there. Boys do not play basketball. Therefore, 0 players of basketball. 75% of boys play football. 75% is 3/4. 3/4 of 200 will be 150. 150 play football. If only 2 sports are available for participants, how many students do not participate in either sport? Again, for the boys, we are sure that 50 of these boys will not be participating in any sport. But for the girls, we do not know. The girls, some of the girls could be playing football. Some of the girls who are playing basketball could also be playing football. So the number of girls who are not participating cannot be determined. Hence, the overall answer will be cannot be determined for this question because the breakup of girls is not mentioned. Overall, easy to moderate question. Just spotting the fact that only boys not playing basketball is mentioned, girls not playing football is not mentioned, will help you answer the question. Not more than a minute, minute and a half to solve the question. This question reads, consider a fraction in simplest form. Simplest form means the numerator and denominator have HCF of 1. So nothing is common between them except 1. When this fraction is squared and its numerator is increased by 25, denominator is reduced by 80. So suppose my fraction was x by y. What I'm doing is I'm squaring the fraction, so x square upon y square, increasing the numerator by 25%. So this means 1 plus 25 by 100 gets multiplied to the new numerator. Increasing by 25% means adding 25% to the value to the original value. So 125, 1 plus 25 upon 100, and its denominator is reduced to 80%. If we have 100 and we have to reduce it to 80, that means a reduction of 20% is happening. Or what we can do is we can multiply y square by 80%. 80% of y square will reduce the value of y square to 80% of itself. So I'm multiplying this by 80 by 100. When this is done, square, increase the numerator, reduce the denominator. What does it yield? It yields 5 by 8 of the original fraction. So 5 by 8 into x by y's value that we will get. Determine the product of the numerator and denominator of the original fraction is what we have to solve for. So if we solve this, we'll get 25 by 100 is 1 by 4. 1 plus 1 by 4 is 5 by 4. Y square, this divided by 20 is 4 by 5. this becomes 5x upon 8y. So x square upon y square. This 5 by 4 will be as it is. This 4 by 5 is in numerator, so we take the inverse 5 by 4. This is what we get. X and x square gets cancelled, y and y square gets cancelled. 5 and 5 gets cancelled. 4 2s are 8. 2 2s are 4. So x by y becomes, everything is gone. 2 goes to the top, 5 goes to the bottom. So x by y is nothing but 2 by 5. Since it is in the simplest form, 2 by 5 has nothing in common except 1, 2 and 5. It is in the simplest form. We have to find the product of the numerator and denominator. That means x is 2, y is 5. So the product of x and y will be 2 into 5, which is 10. Option C. Again, some bit of calculation involved, so probably moderate question, but not more than about 2 minutes to solve. In the Smith family, the ratio of expenses and savings ratio is 5:3. So 5x and 3x. We know that the income is nothing but expenditure plus saving. The income will be 5x plus 3x, which is 8x. After increasing expenses by 60%, this is increased by 60%. 60% of 5x will be 3x. 6 5 is 30. So increase 60% increase means new expenditure will be 5x plus 3x, which is 8x. And income by 25%. 25% is 1/4. 1/4 of 8x will be 2x. So 8x plus 2x will be 10x. So the new income is 10x, the new expenditure is 8x. There is a deficit of 3,500 in savings. Clearly here the savings will be 2x. So the deficit in savings is 3x minus 2x, which is given as 3,500, which means x is equal to 3,500. What is the increased income of the Smith family? The increased income of the Smith family is 10x, which will be 35 into 10 or 35,000. Option A becomes the answer. Now, as long as the concept of expenditure and saving is clear, this is an easy question. Simple application of percentage change should not take about maybe 1.5 to 2 minutes to solve the question. In a college, two candidates contested a presidential election. 15% of the voters abstained from voting and 41 votes were deemed invalid. Suppose there were 100x total voters, 15x abstained, 15%, and therefore 85x voted. Out of these, 41 were invalid. So valid votes will be 85x minus 41. The winning candidate secured 314 votes more than the runner-up if the winning candidate received 45% of the eligible votes, which is equal to the total number of students. So this 100x is the eligible votes. Winner got 45% of the eligible votes. So therefore we are saying the winner got 45x votes, secured 314 votes more than the runner-up. So the runner-up got 314 votes less, so 45x minus 314. This is given. We have to find the vote count for each candidate. Now the total number of valid votes, 85x minus 41, will be the sum of votes that the two winner and the runner-up get. So this should be equal to 45x plus 45x minus 314. 45, 40 is 90x. So 85x minus 41 should be equal to 90x minus 314, which means 5x is equal to 314 minus 41, which means 5x is equal to 274, 273. We have to find out the vote count for each candidate. So what we can do is, we multiply this by 9, we get 9 5 is 45x is equal to 273 into 9, which will be 927, carry forward to 963, 5, 6, 9, 2s are 18, 6, 20, 2457. The value of 45x is 2457. The number of votes that the winner gets, subtract 314 from this, we will get 2143. So this becomes the number of votes that the runner-up gets. So option D becomes the answer. Basic percentage question based on votes. Again, you would have seen questions like this while practicing, and therefore I'm saying even the moderate question could be looked at. Solving time might go up to about 2.5 minutes for this question. Mr. Smith's annual earnings were rupees 4 lakhs for the first year of the job. Year 1, 4 lakh. with 50% of his income spent on expenses. Income expenditure will be 52 lakhs. Over the next 3 years, his average annual income increased by 40,000. Okay, and his savings were 40%, 31, 20% of his income. Savings. If no interest is applied on his savings over these years, what percentage of his total earnings did he save compared to his expenditure? Now, what we can do is we can assume that the year one his income was 100, and according to the question, saving is half of this, which is 50. Now, increase of 40,000 on 4 lakh means 40,000 on 4 lakh. Percentage wise, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 0, 4, 4, 10%. So if the income was 100, the increase every year is 10. So if you look at year 2, year 3, and year 4, every year on an average, the increase will be 10 because the same amount is the average increase. So in year 2, the income will be 110, 120, 130. And saving is 40, 30, 20%. So 40% of 110 is 44. 30% of 120 is 36. 20% of 130 is 26. 3 12s are 36. 2 13s are 26. So total income becomes 3, 4, 5, 6, 460 rupees. And the total saving becomes 30, 41, 36, 70, 80, 80 and 50, 130, 130 and 26, 156. Total earning to his total expenses. What? Oh, sorry, we are looking at expenses, not savings. So expenses will be 460 minus 156 will be the total expenses, which will come out to 304. What percentage of total earnings did he save compared to his total expenses? Saving is to expenses to be found out. So 156 upon 304 is what he will end up saving. 156 upon 304. 156 upon 300 as a percentage would come out to 52%. So the answer has to be just less than 52%, so 51 point something. Hence the closest answer will be none of these. Again, this question, because of the calculation involved, I'd say moderate, especially if we work with 40,000 and 4 lakh, it will take more amount of time. But if you're able to look at the 10%, maybe a little faster, but still 2.5 to 3 minutes to solve with 4 lakh and 40,000. Now, in terms of overall level of difficulty, for this test, as I initially said, easy to moderate level of paper, about 7 good attempts, and time for the test would be 18 to 21 minutes. What are the questions that I would look at? For me, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8. Which are these questions? Basic marks-based question number 1. This was a direct percentage multiplier and adding. Definitely would have done this because it was evident that the answer cannot be determined. I would have done this as well because I have done similar questions earlier. Again, not a question that you should attempt in the first time, especially in a time test. Probably this as well because cannot be determined became visible quite early. This I might have done because all we need to do was write x and y and then solve, but could lead to some confusion because the first line, fraction in simplest form, if that we miss out on that, then it becomes a problem. This again depends on your understanding of saving, savings, expenses, and income. Depends on that. This would take some amount of calculation, might have been avoided in a time test, especially with the other questions given. Out of the questions that were there, I thought this was one of the more harder questions, and therefore 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8 would be my attempt for this paper.